What's the difference between you and me?
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
Hi.
If I were to say Batman, what pops in your head first? Is it this?
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Or is it this?
All right, everyone. Chill.
I'd be willing to bet a majority that you picked the former. And if I were to ask you why, you'd probably say something along the lines of, the Nolan films are darker and grittier. Others will say, clearly it's because Batman and Robin is corny with bad acting. Well, you're wrong. Not about which movie's worse. You're right about that. But what if I told you it's because of evolution that you love The Dark Knight but hate Batman and Robin? In this video, we're gonna dig deeper to explore how your brain works when it's unconsciously deciding whether something is universally good or insultingly bad. It's gonna take me about 5 minutes to explain all this. So by all means, if you have a TikTok video that you need to watch or you wanna crush your soul on Instagram, then be my guest. You do you. You'll be missing out on some very valuable information that can make watching movies a lot more fun and even help you do better in your life.
You trust him? It'd be hard to keep him out, and here he's as stubborn as you are.
If I were to ask the average person why they think dark is better than corny, they would most likely use a different adjective, or they would just tell me, I don't know. And you know what? Fair enough. First, I think we need to define what better actually means. As humans, we use the word better oftentimes to describe an event that involuntarily produces positive chemicals like dopamine or serotonin in the brain. Since this process is involuntary, meaning we cannot directly produce it, it needs to be produced through an external experience. Experiences like playing video games, or watching a movie, or smoking crack. Storytelling is ingrained in our DNA. Human beings have been telling each other stories for centuries.
It's taken several million years to get to this moment where I can tell you about how it took several million years for us to get here.
The utility of storytelling has been to communicate a message. Story has a unique power in that it can trick our brain into experiencing and instinctually reacting to simulated realities. Scary stories can make your hair stand on end or make you feel threatened despite there not being a presence or threat in the room. Love stories can simulate mating or partnership and reproduction with a suitable mate. Heroic stories allow us to simulate climbing hierarchies, saving our kind, and achieving self-actualization. Then over time, as all things do, storytelling got better, more streamlined, more efficient. Humans learned that to make a better story, it required trimming the fat. Oh, hold on, I got a text message. An effective story requires a few things. Number one, believable choices. The main characters within the story must take action or make decisions that either coincide with audience's hypothetical actions given similar circumstances, and or those actions must make sense to the established behavior of the character.
Bitch, get out the road! Bitch, get out the road!
The story must also have a treasure chest. I didn't have a... Whatever. The treasure chest is the goal at the end that makes the entire plot worth it. The protagonist must sacrifice something great in pursuit of something greater.
I love taking a shit with the back door open.
This is a principle found throughout life. The concept of sacrificing the now to benefit later. That's what you do when you save money. You want to lose some weight, so you restrict your diet and you eat potatoes or some shit. Or you want to get stronger, you go to the gym, and even though you hate lifting weights, which is the sacrifice of comfort, you do it because you know in the future you're just going to be stronger. Number three is purpose of action. And this is more of a meta thing. An effective story is streamlined, it's rhythmic, and it wastes no time. In a movie, this is done through first the writing phase and then the editing phase. Every cutaway serves to inform the audience of something taking place in the future or referencing something in the past. Even microscopic moments like giving a scene a few frames of an extra breath just before you cut so you stay on rhythm with the rest of the piece. The editor is subconsciously keeping time with the beats laid down by the writer. Step number 4 is arguably the most important element. You need a good antagonist. And this is where it gets cool. The concept of the protagonist and the antagonist harkens back to Taoism, specifically yin and yang. Order versus chaos, each unable to exist without the other, giving each other purpose. This principle permeates just about every aspect of human life. The right-angled orderliness of a metropolitan city skyline versus the unpredictable chaos of a rainforest canopy. The chaotically creative left brain versus the analytical regimented order of the right brain. Order balances chaos, like opening an umbrella during an unpredictable rainstorm, and chaos balances order, like an entire world at war fighting to diminish an evil institution. I may have gone a little too hard on that last example. All of these elements have to work together, kind of like a symphony. You have the right notes at the right time, rising and falling, and when this rhythm is perfectly achieved, it primes the brain for a phenomenon called psychological projection. Psychological projection is when human beings project their identity into a character, whether it's a movie, a book, video game.
Hey, German on 85 here.
When this is done successfully, your identity acts like a surrogate. You start to experience the events, the elements, the emotions of the story through that character. It's kind of like jacking into the Matrix or being hypnotized. And the cool thing is you don't really notice it until the movie's over. It takes you out of your reality and puts you into an alternate one. A bad movie betrays the rules. It rips you, the audience, out of your projected state, or just doesn't allow it in the first place, and grounds them in the reality of the couch on which they sit, where their credit card debt is real, their girlfriend is out with their boyfriend, where you still have student loans, there's a 12-year-old on TikTok making $10 million a year, and you're stuck as a cashier at Walmart. A great movie is one where you don't realize you're watching a movie.
This movie sucks eggs.
Introduce a little anarchy. Upset the established order, and everything becomes chaos. I'm an agent of chaos. Oh, and you know the thing about chaos.
Hey, you're a smart cookie. I know. I can tell. By now, you've probably noticed that Batman represents order, and the villains in Batman represent chaos, albeit in different flavors. Scarecrow represents chaos brought upon by fear. Mr. Freeze represents the chaos brought upon by loss of a loved one. You get it. You've undoubtedly heard someone say before, Batman is not about Batman, it's about the villains. Here's why. Batman's not the perfect character. He's the perfect avatar. Bruce Wayne and Batman are stoic and reserved. Their purpose is the embodiment of order and the moral good. Think of Batman like a power suit for your identity that when you project into it, you turn into an ultra wealthy, super intelligent, knowledgeable martial artist, has a lot of confidence, and he fights bad guys. Batman represents the competent and confident part of us that we all strive to be, while the villains in Batman represent allegories for the difficulties we face in everyday life. Bullies at school, feelings of inadequacy, an unexpected illness, an impending financial crisis, the Island Boys. Is that a dated meme now? I don't know.
You know I'm thugging, bro, right?
Most of these problems are what we hope to find the strength to one day overcome. Essentially, watching Batman defeat a formidable foe simulates an experience that stimulates our brains to release dopamine.
Does it feel good?
The greatest Batman villain is unequivocally the Joker. While the other villains representing fear, loss, greed, they're certainly negative themes. They're emotions that cannot exist without chaos. Joker is chaos incarnate, the diametrically opposed entity to Batman's order. Nothing the Joker does or says is reliable or predictable. Chaos taken to its limit has no rules and no patterns. Batman's existence is to defeat chaos, and the Joker's purpose is to destroy order. Without each other, neither has a purpose, and this is heavily on display during the interrogation scene in The Dark Knight.
And why do you want to kill me? I don't want to kill you? What would I do without you? Go back to ripping off mob dealers? No. No, you complete me. See, their morals, their code, it's a bad joke. They're only as good as the world allows them to be. I'll show you. When the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other.
What makes The Dark Knight so great is how the details of the film serve to inform and beautifully saturate the character of the Joker, each detail adding depth to the central theme of the film. Dark is not the reason that this movie is better. Look no further than, Batman versus Superman. The story has a perfect rhythm. It has details that support the central theme. It fleshes out its characters beautifully. Everything that they do is believable for their character and believable to us as the audience.
You know how I got these scars? My father was a drinker. He takes the knife to her, laughing while he does it. He turns to me and he says, "Why so serious?" So I had a wife, beautiful, like you, who tells me I worry too much. Who tells me I ought to smile more? I stick a razor in my mouth and do this. She can't stand the sight of me. She leaves. Now I see the funny side. Now I'm always smiling.
Another great little moment after the Joker escapes from the jail. A cop car is representative of order. And then here you have the Joker. He's hanging out the back of it like a dog. The car itself, it's swerving unpredictably.
I'm a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do with one if I caught it. I just do things.
My favorite detail was during the convoy scene. As the convoy's coming up on the bridge, they're blocked by a burning fire truck. And the symbolism here is first of all, it represents the Joker's sense of humor. There's definitely irony in the symbolism of a fire truck being on fire. Fire is chaos, and a fire truck is meant to defeat chaos. Pointed nozzle of water, systematically taking out the randomness of fire. So throughout the entire film, there's this almost dance of meaning expanding and contracting in on itself as scenes and events unfold, with the scales tipping to and fro throughout the story. Chaos reaching its limits, creating change through actions of the Joker that end up turning Harvey Dent into the villain, and then order reaching its limits through Batman and Lucius Fox. When Batman turns on the cell phone spy system, spying on everyone in Gotham. This is an example of too much order. I don't need to convince you. The movie is absolutely genius in how it's written, how it's executed. The purpose of this movie is to sell the story to the audience. That's it. So we've established that the concept of Batman is ironclad and proven to work in perfect harmony with human nature. Children and adults that love this character and don't necessarily understand the psychology behind why they love him are proof enough. It's not the branding, it's not the dark tone, it's the meaning of the character. If Batman himself is so compelling, then it begs the question, why the can't we connect to Batman and Robin the way that we connect with The Dark Knight?
Hi, Freeze. I'm Batman.
Batman.
Cancel the pizza.
Excuse me, Chief. Excuse you, Chief.
Pointed at my bedroom.
And step on it.
Have you ever matched with someone on Tinder who's like way too hot for you? They might be a bot, but they might not. So you send them a message and then they come back to you and they're like, hey, how was your weekend? And you get super excited and you're like, hey, wow, my day was good. Did you do tomorrow? And you're like, I can't wait to start my life with this person. You're going on vacations together. You're meeting her parents for the first time and you're getting married and all of a sudden you have kids and you have a little boy and you're sitting on the couch and you're watching Batman, what he's experiencing for the first time. And then she comes in and she brings you grilled cheese and good looking grilled cheese. And right as you bite into the grilled cheese, that's what Batman and Robin is.
Mr. Freeze began his life in Batman
Zero
comics
or
as
below
Mr. Zero
degrees, and he would like the rest of the world to live at 0 or below as well.
Principles, he is as evil as he is, but it's all for one
thing. Cure, he couldn't save her, is an amazing story.
That's gotta hurt. Imagine if we had a montage scene in The Dark Knight where we show that the Batman imposters have been organizing through a Facebook group and they're like liking and commenting on each other's stuff. What about a scene where like the Batmobile is like driving really fast down the highway and it passes a tour bus and it's the Jonas Brothers. Whoa, it's Batman!
That's awesome.
What if there's a scene where like the Joker, he drinks a Four Loko and he goes, wow, this is delicious stuff. It's even too crazy for me. And then he winks at the camera. This is something you see all the time, the idea of committee thinking or too many cooks in the kitchen. When you have too many people with too many different experiences, worldviews, personalities coming together, you don't end up with a focused vision. You end up with the average of 70 people. Imagine trying to relate to one single person who has a very specific experience through 70 people who all have different experiences. Very hard to do that. Reason number 2 is, well,
a word I had never heard before. More toyetic, which means that what you create makes toys that can sell.
We involved the toy company. We let them look and be involved in how the Batmobile was going to look, how Batman's gadgets were going to be, which they wanted. This is key to them. They need a lot of lead time.
And what are the elements of this film? Like, let's just look at it, right? You have product placements, you have pandering writing, you have unrealistic dialogue, and you have characters that basically have the depth of a kiddie pool. This completely betrays the rules that I established at the beginning of this video. The Dark Knight was directed by Christopher Nolan, written by Christopher Nolan, and I think his brother. And then that creative vision was then supported by an entire team of people around him. When you have 60 people playing the role of Christopher Nolan, and then you have people who want to sell a product, you end up with shit. There's a reason why your brain chooses not to jack into the Matrix here. Your ego won't let you put yourself into the shoes of a character that's shitty or stupid or anything that would insult your personal view of yourself. You don't want to connect with that character.
No one wants to be Peter Chris Lois, not even Peter Chris.
The other reason, which I think is even more interesting, we don't like being manipulated into buying shit. You've developed a threat detection system that minimizes losing resources or people trying to sell you shit that you don't need, and that includes ideas, not just products. And what happens when you build a movie that's sole purpose is to sell toys? The story falls apart. You have henchmen dressed up like goalies, wearing rollerblades and playing hockey. It's completely impractical. The least efficient way if your idea is to be intimidating and effective while serving an evil supervillain. Why does it look like this? Because somebody said, it looks cool. Batman has a Bat credit card and is putting offers in to Poison Ivy. There are cheesy music scores throughout the film that are there to tell you how to feel because somebody said, it'll be funny. You have ridiculously over-designed gadgets, you have cod pieces, you have asses, and you have nipples. For f***'s sake, why? Because somebody said toys.
The final fight, sending the frozen fiend to a massive meltdown. Batman and Robin, figures and vehicles each sold separately, batteries not.
And so when your purpose is to make toys, the story is now secondary. Because the medium of creating an attractive looking toy, it ignores intention and purpose. This movie misses the fundamental purpose of Batman. It undercuts the heroic story of chaos versus order with cheap puns, horrible aesthetic design, and a lack of depth prioritizing an ROI over telling a good story. The audience is never able to project their identity onto the characters. Every creative decision lacks purpose and it lacks meaning towards serving the story. It's there to serve the bottom line of the studio. It's inauthentic. I think the Joker says it best.
It's not about money. It's about sending a message.
If you made it to this point, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit like if you liked, share this video with a friend, and subscribe. Hit the bell. See you in the next one.